In my honest opinion, if I could go back to eating meat and gain like 5 pounds of muscle, would that be worth it? I'd say no. We can get what we need. I could still progress. Even to this day, I'm still progressing. So why change it?
Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Advocacy Fitness, and this is season 3 of the Advocacy Approach podcast, the podcast where we highlight incredible vegan athletes, nutritionists, and other influential and inspiring vegans in the community and find out what they do to absolutely kill it on a plant-based diet. If you haven't already, please give us a follow anywhere you're listening to this, and feel free to check out the other content I'm producing on athicsfitness.com, including the Ethics coaching services, merch, articles, free training programs, and YouTube videos. Also, feel free to check out my personal fitness Instagram at TofuStrong for more podcast updates and additional content. Creating content like this is a huge passion of mine, and I greatly appreciate any support along those lines. All of my links will be in the description, and thank you so incredibly much for all of the continued love and support. In this episode, I have the pleasure of being joined by my good friend and vegan coach slash powerlifter, Billy Duffy. Billy and I met a couple years ago here in New York City and quickly became friends, which usually seems to be the case when you have two extremely niche overlapping traits, including being vegan, which already narrows down like about 98.5% of the population, and being obsessed with the science of resistance training. We actually competed in our first full power powerlifting meet about a year ago now, along with our two other strong vegan friends, Julien DesRoches and Brennen Motz, and that was an absolute blast. But I digress. Billy absolutely loves powerlifting and trains hard as hell, and he also loves sharing the knowledge of effective strength training. In this episode, we discuss all about Billy's training history, what led him to powerlifting, when and why he went vegan, training for strength and hypertrophy for powerlifting, the moral aspects of veganism, plant-based nutrition for serious gains, with a Z of course, his experience with starting and running a small vegan protein company with his wife Emma, and much, much more. I've witnessed firsthand just how passionate Billy is about his work as a personal trainer, and I think this episode really embodies that same passion with how he shares his knowledge on the subject. You can find Billy on Instagram at soyboybilly with a period between each word. And thanks again so much to Billy for making the time to come on for this episode. Without further ado, on with the show. All right, guys, what's up? This is Ryan with Advocacy Fitness, and this is episode 3 of season 3 of the Advocacy Approach podcast. Thank you for listening. And today I'm joined with my close friend, Billy Duffy here. He's a vegan powerlifter. Thank you for coming on. And I'll kick it back to you to do a quick little intro for yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, it's a quick intro. I'm Billy, born and raised in New York, powerlifter, strength and conditioning coach, and vegan for many years now. And we linked up a little over a year ago, and I've since then kind of gotten to meet a bunch of other people in the vegan fitness space, and it's just kind of only made my passion for it grow even more and more.
Yeah, man. How did we actually link up originally? Did we connect via like Instagram or something?
Yeah, so I reached out to you, funny enough, because last year I missed the animal rights march in New York, and I just kind of looked up hashtags on Instagram. And
Yeah.
your photo
Oh,
was
that's
like
right.
one of the first ones that came up of like you like shirtless flexing. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like this guy's in New York, he's into fitness, he's vegan. So I reached out. Um, I saw all the stuff that you and Julien did together. So then we all met at Spicy Moon at one of those vegan drink events, and then
Oh, yeah, that's right.
yeah,
That
and
that
then
must have
from
been
there
two
on
years
out.
ago now, right?
No, it was a little over a year. It was actually probably around this time because you brought up the vegan Friendsgiving.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was literally like a few weeks after.
Wow.
So that's when, I met like most of the other people in, our vegan friend group
Dude,
as
that's
well.
crazy. I feel like it's
Yeah,
been like at least a couple years
I
already.
know. No, it's been about a year. Yeah.
That's kind of the nice thing about being in such a niche community where it's like, we're all vegan, we all lift.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like we all met each other and we immediately just like connected so well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, even so, like Emma and I too, like every time we hang out, it's like we've never had a friend group that's been like so easy and like low effort. Usually like, you know, you got to make plans and everyone's, wants to do different things. And then just meeting up, it's like so much effort. But like we're always just like, looking forward to the next meetup.
Yeah, and we got these like group chats and stuff going now.
It's a good
Honestly,
time.
dude, it's just great. It's great having like a little community of fit vegans we can always go to that
Yeah.
like complain about the same shit that we go through and like
Just freaking
talk
vent.
about like events and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's great, dude. Um, so let's
Yeah.
talk a little more about you, man. So you've always lived in New York? I actually didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised in Queens.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so have you always been into fitness and such? Like what kind of drew you to that?
I was actually kind of late to it. I only started in college, like halfway through college. So I didn't lift at all for most of my life. I played sports growing up. Like I
Hmm.
played baseball and basketball. I was always into that, but never the gym. And I had one of my best friends growing up, like started getting into the gym like early into high school. And he was like trying so hard to push me to go to the gym. And I was just like, no, no, I don't want to. But then, yeah, I started, halfway through college. And I just kind of got obsessed with it, right away.
Yeah. What specifically drew you to going to the gym and like training?
I mean, same as most people, I was like super, like just skinny,
Hmm.
scrawny guy. And at first, I just wanted to like build muscle. I knew nothing about fitness. I knew
Hmm.
nothing about powerlifting. I mean, bodybuilding was like the only extent that I had some sort of, not even knowledge, just I knew it existed. I knew it was a
Uh-huh.
thing. And I thought that like that was the thing people go to the gym for.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I just started kind of going down rabbit holes, forums, learning as much as I could about it. And just, yeah, I've been hooked ever since.
And so I mean, you're like 6'2". Like how much
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
weigh when you first started lifting?
Oh God, like the last known to like weight that I was before I started going to the gym was like 145.
Oh my God,
Like I
that's
was
actually
like,
crazy skinny.
yeah, yeah,
Jeez.
super skinny. Like no body fat, no muscle, nothing.
And were you vegan back then?
So actually, no, I wasn't. I At that time I had been vegetarian for maybe a few months,
Hmm.
probably like actually maybe a year. I'd probably
Hmm.
been vegetarian for about a year at that point.
Okay.
And then I started lifting weights. And I actually unlike a lot of other people, I never had like a baseline like, oh, this is what my training was like when I was eating meat, or this
Uh-huh.
is like I built this muscle eating meat. Like I had zero meat from the time I started lifting weights till now, like not a
Uh-huh.
single piece of meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so how long were you vegetarian for while you were lifting and when did you go vegan?
Probably about like maybe like a year and a half, I'd say
Okay.
maybe. Like I was vegetarian for like a total of like 2.5 years. And then I eventually started getting rid of dairy, so I didn't have dairy anymore. So the only thing I was having was eggs that
Mhm.
wasn't vegan, and that was probably like maybe a good 8 month period. And then once I cut out eggs, yeah, never. It's
Gotcha.
probably been like about 6 years now since
You've been vegan for 6 years? So
about yeah
you've been training for like about 8 years now, then?
yeah. Well, let me do the math. So I was like probably about yeah, pretty much like I was like about 20 when I started, 28
Okay.
now. So yeah.
I assume you originally went vegetarian for ethical purposes at
Hmm.
first? Okay.
Yeah. No, actually, my story with that was an interesting one. So I, like I said, grew up in New York,
Hmm.
never really seen farm animals before.
Yeah.
Obviously knew they existed, but when I was about 18, 19 years old, I went to Poland for a month,
Hmm.
and I was staying with a family that they didn't have a farm, but like the area that they lived in was like very farmland
Yeah.
area. So I go for walks in the morning and, see the cows and pigs and chickens and stuff like that. And it was in that moment, like on the spot, that I was just like, yeah, like I made the connection, like, oh shit, like I eat these
Hmm.
animals. And after that walk, I went back and I'd
Yeah.
tell like or have my friend translate to the Polish grandma, like, hey, he doesn't eat meat anymore.
Wow.
And she was just like, what? And she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So she would like insist on feeding me. So the whole trip, she would just bring me like these crackers with cheese and tomato, like every day.
Uh-huh.
Just bring me plates of cheese, crackers, and tomato.
So was this like a vacation to Poland?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I went with a friend at that time and was staying with her family,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, and it was about like a month, and that was pretty early on in the trip. I'd say like maybe like a week or two into the trip.
Okay.
Um, I ended up, at this part of their family's area where they were by the farmlands and stuff. And yeah,
Wow. It's really interesting too, because I imagine like, you weren't seeing like factory farmed animals. You were seeing like what most people would be like, oh, these are happy cows and such, like
yeah,
roaming these fields. But you were still like, no, like I eat those. Like they might look like they're like, happy in this field or whatever, but like they're still being eaten. Is
yeah.
that kind of what happened?
Yeah, well, you know what it was too? I had seen factory farm footage prior to that. And I
Okay.
remember like this was even like before I was on Instagram. I think this was like it was like a video on Facebook or something. And it had
Uh-huh.
something to do with like McDonald's suppliers or whatever. So
Uh-huh.
like at first I saw those videos and I was like, oh, it's the fast food companies.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
sure. Uh-huh.
they're the ones that are like mistreating animals. So then I
Okay.
stopped having fast food. That was like the first, I'd say the first thing that went.
Uh-huh.
So I still ate meat, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't go to McDonald's or Burger King or anything like that.
Okay.
And then this trip, I guess, is what like really made, you know, I guess you just clicked in my head that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like this is it doesn't matter like if they're in a factory, if they're on a field, like
Hmm.
they still have to die
Right.
ultimately. So
Exactly. And a lot of people I see like, I don't know, commenting stuff online or even in real life, they're like, "Oh, I don't care, like, but I do care if these animals are treated well beforehand and then they were just like killed right away." But
yeah,
people don't realize that like 97% or something of meat is factory farmed. So
yeah,
like, no matter where you're going, there's that high of a chance that that animal was in a factory farm anyways.
yeah,
So, but it's just funny to hear that to be like, oh, well, if they lived their whole life happy, then I don't care if they're just like slaughtered at the end because they lived a great life. It's like, well, they still want to keep living, you know?
yeah. Well, that's honestly the response I give to people now. Like, are you familiar with like Seb Alex on Instagram?
A little bit. I recognize the name.
He had a video and it was actually really good. Like he does like these debates and people ask him questions or whatever. And someone brought that up where it's like, oh, like I only eat animals that are ethically raised. And then he's
Yeah.
like, so you kill happy animals. And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, don't you think that's worse than killing sad animals?
Yeah.
It's like if an animal's
If you put it
suffering,
that way, it's interesting.
yeah, it's like, why kill the happy animal then? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it's wrong to treat animals poorly, but then if we
Hmm.
treat them well, why kill them? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I tell people. Like if they bring that up, I'm like, so you kill the happy animals,
Hmm.
you know?
How do you deal with or like how do you I guess navigate talking with people in real life who maybe are very anti-vegan or they're trying to raise points to why they don't want to go vegan or whatever. Like what's your personal approach?
Yeah. I mean, it's really it's tough. And I actually had like a excruciatingly like painful conversation yesterday with
With a
some people
client?
I work. No, just with some people I work with
Okay.
um about it. And like the first thing I try to do, and this is what I feel like I've personally gotten a lot better at, and I feel I've noticed a better response in people is I don't get angry
Hmm.
and I try not to, and I like make it known that I'm not trying to judge.
Hmm.
Like that's, I guess, the first thing where people put their walls up is when they're feeling judged.
Totally.
And I try to find common ground like as much as I can, you know.
Hmm.
And I just try to be real. Like every time I have these conversations, like I just try to be real. It's like, yeah, I mean, I used to love eating meat too. Like if someone says like, oh, but I love it, I'm like, I agree. Like
Hmm.
I loved it too. You know what I mean? And it's like once I made the connection of, that the victims behind those choices,
Uh-huh.
then I unfortunately had to stop doing the thing that I loved, you
Yeah.
know? And when you put it like that, people are like a little bit more receptive and they understand it a little bit more. Whereas opposed to they're like, oh no, you're just against meat. You don't like meat. That's not like me. I
Uh-huh.
love meat. And it's like, no, we are the same.
Yeah.
we are the same. It's just I chose to do something different than what you're doing.
Yeah, man. I think you and I have a very similar approach, and I think that this kind of goes back to a lot of other things that people argue about in real life. It's like not all of us are really that different. It just
Yeah.
people see really black and white, and if you could just get on the same page to some degree and be like, well, no, I felt this way before, or like I still feel that way, but maybe like there are these overarching values that come in that made me, want to give up what I previously thought and change my ways, you know. So
Yeah.
I have very much the same approach there. Like I think that's a great way. People get really defensive when they're confronted, and I don't think people want to change, you know? Like I'm same
Yeah.
as you. Like I used to really like chicken, like fried chicken, obviously, and like other like, cheese pizza and stuff. Like I'm not gonna deny any of that. It's just like once I started to learn enough, I was like, well, this is worth the trade-off. Like, I can eat other foods that are tasty and like align with my values, and it kind of just speaks for itself eventually, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's just like we are more similar than we are different at the end of the day. And if
Definitely.
you can relate to people in that sense, I feel like they're a little bit more receptive because
Yeah.
if not, then you're just like the weird, crazy vegan, you know?
Yeah, I speaking of which, I think that a lot of people who get the bad rap for like veganism and like I think things are kind of getting a little better, but you always hear about some vegan who starts getting a lot of hate, like the vegan teacher or
Yeah.
something, and it's because like they seem very militant. There's always that stereotype of like the militant vegan, and people don't like that. People love to hate people who are telling them what to do, and I get it. Like I'm actually pretty stubborn too, and I try to have that approach where I'm like, get on their level.
Yeah.
Let's all agree to something before we disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't like that because it's more of like a scapegoat. I don't like that word militant because if we put that word in front of any, because at the end of the day, like vegans are basically like animal rights activists, and if you put that word in front of any other activism, like what if we said human rights, a militant human rights
It sounds bad
activist? It
immediately.
sounds,
Yeah.
yeah, and people be like, "What are you talking about?" So it's just like
Yeah.
we're just standing up for what we believe in,
Yeah.
but we're all of a sudden militant because it's inconvenient for you to hear the truth about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I see some people on Instagram and stuff, these huge arguments, and I'm just like, this is not the way to do it. Like, unfortunately, you're not going to change anyone's mind online through an Instagram comment, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, Instagram like comment sections are just like cesspool of
Oh my God,
humanity.
it's a
It's
cesspool. Dude,
yeah.
it makes me lose hope, and it makes me be like, this is totally off subject, but it makes me be like, maybe we really are in that dead internet theory. Have you heard about that?
No. Well,
Dude, it
actually, maybe
just
maybe if you refresh me on it, yeah.
if I just explain it to you, you'll understand. It's just like the idea that like all these comments and all these interactions and such on social media are faked by like AI tools just to
Oh,
just to get more
could
engagement
be.
because people see these things that are
Yeah,
like really heated and the people who are real will engage with it because they'll get
yeah.
pissed and then they'll get responses from like other AI agents to get
Actually, yeah,
engagement. It's not
yeah,
that outlandish when you really think about it. Like it's all about engagement. People are always trying to get more and more views and whatever.
yeah,
So even if it's a machine, it looks better on in the
yeah.
algorithm, right?
That's not a bad. Yeah, that is totally plausible, especially because like a lot of the comments you see are just so unoriginal too. It's just the
Right.
same stuff like regurgitated over and over again.
And don't you kind of feel like people are more and more and more divided online these days? Like it's
Oh, just in life, and it's ridiculous because I mean, with politics, with like dietary, any sort of lifestyle choices, yeah, we're super divided, and it's honestly just I don't know. I just think they're more like distraction tactics than anything,
Mhm.
really. But
Yeah. So like in your own personal life, since you and I kind of have the same approach, I think in a lot of ways. Do you have another outlet or maybe like way of influencing people to consider going vegan or maybe think that a plant-based diet is a good idea?
um, well, I mean, that sort of ties into like why I got into fitness. So when I first started going to the gym, it was more like just trying to look better, feel better. And then once I started actually noticing progress on a vegetarian diet, which I had a lot of skepticism, a
Mhm.
lot of
Yeah.
people were very skeptical about. Then it kind of started to become more of like my mission to just, I guess, become the strongest I could possibly be,
Hmm.
even, become stronger than, you know, any meat eater that I know.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like, besides the whole taste argument, whatever, what else do you got? Like, if we could disprove, well, I mean, us and many other people are kind of living proof that, it's been disproven that vegan diets are not optimal for muscle growth. Like they are. Like we've all proven that. So I mean, what else do you got at the end of the day after that? So if we,
There's still backlash a little bit. Like I see like Menno Henselmans and like some other people who are a little more like science based who like go by the
yeah,
studies. They'll like post something and be like, "Oh, this plant-based protein study versus dairy protein showed that the people who ate the whey protein got better results or whatever." And it's like, well,
yeah,
there's also a lot of studies showing that like plant-based protein still builds a ton of muscle and it can be equated. You might need like a little bit more, but like not
yeah,
enough to make a difference, man. Like you don't need that much protein at the end
yeah.
of the day.
But at the end, yeah. Also, even if the results are like minuscule, like the difference is very small, like it's still results. It's still progress. It could still
Mhm.
be done. Like we live in this world where it's all about optimizing. Oh, well, if
Yeah.
I ate this, I could gain an extra 0.5% more. Where it's just like no, like I think we just need to kind of like this is where I kind of don't really like the way that plant-based diets are pushed. So I
Hmm.
want to like really separate vegan versus plant-based for a second. So
Agreed. Yeah.
plant-based diets, especially like a lot of people on Instagram, are pushing it as though it's the optimal diet, it's the most healthy diet, it's whatever, it's this, it's that, it's this. I think like we have to start by just proving to people that it's good enough.
Yeah.
Like you're telling somebody that thinks that veganism and plant-based diets, right, are not adequate, and we're trying to tell them, no, 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 it's actually the best diet.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They're not going to believe that.
Hmm.
Whether it's true or not, they're
Yeah.
not going to believe that. We have to like kind of first get them on board that like, oh, it's good enough. It's
Right.
adequate enough. We can get what we need. Is
Uh-huh.
it optimal? I don't know. Like I
Hmm.
said, I don't have like a before and after of lifting as a vegan, lifting as a non-vegan. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah.
And in my honest opinion, if I could go back to eating meat and gain like 5 pounds of muscle, would that be worth it?
Hmm.
I'd say no. You
Yeah.
know,
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm
I
not
th
trying to be like a IFBB pro or whatever. And even still, like, you could still be vegan and become a pro bodybuilder. But
Oh
that's
yeah.
besides the point. That's
Yeah.
beside the point. It's just like at the end of the day, even if one was better than the other, it's adequate enough. Like I get
Yeah.
what I need. I could still progress. Even to this day, I'm still progressing. So why change it?
And we have examples of people, let's talk about bodybuilding and powerlifting for a second. We have examples of people competing at top levels in natural drug tested bodybuilding and
Hmm.
enhanced bodybuilding. And we have people pulling over 800 pounds and such in like the 83 kg weight class in powerlifting who are vegan. Like uh, Marco, oh my God,
I
I'm
forgot his
blanking.
last name. I know exactly who you're
Why
talking
am I
about, though.
I'm blanking on his name right now? I'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
Fuck, Marco. I'm blanking on his name. He's a beast. There's a
Yep.
few others that pull like 700, 800, whatever. I mean, there are
Hmm.
vegans in the Olympics. Like
Yep.
we got, Kendrick Ferris, American weightlifter. We have plenty of other sports with vegans. And if you think about it, vegans are such a niche population already. Whatever, if you want to call them plant-based dieters, I'm not really sure how they all align, but they eat a plant-based diet, strict plant-based diet, and they still make it to the Olympics. Almost every sport, there's an example, like medal holders and such. So, like, it goes to
Hmm.
show that with such a niche population who are already performing at a level like that, that is really insane. That's like 0.001%, if not less, of the entire population, and
Yep.
they're still able to do that. Like, that's insane, you know?
Yeah.
That right there speaks for it itself, I think.
Yeah. And like, fortunately, I think we're seeing more and more like vegan, plant-based athletes.
Uh-huh.
And obviously that's a good thing. And ultimately, I think in order for us to, or in order for there to really be change, I personally feel like us as vegans have to kind of, we have to like push ourselves to become, you know, stronger, faster, whatever like our sport is, we have to push ourselves to excel at that. I
Yeah,
feel like it's almost like our obligation to do that,
I
as
understand what you mean.
vegans.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like yes, I'm training hard for me, but I'm also training hard to like just be one of hopefully many examples of this lifestyle and how it, is compatible for health and fitness.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And to circle back to what you kind of said about highlighting the difference between plant-based diet and being vegan, um, there are some things to give specific examples that I think you and I both agree on that like I don't think we really align with, like documentaries that really push they kind of feel like they cherry pick studies in their own ways, or like plant-based doctors.
Yeah.
Where like I feel like there's a lot of evidence where it could be shown opposite. Like what the
Hmm.
Health, for example, felt like it was pushing some points a little too hard in a way that made people kind of like, they kind of backed off. They were like, oh, I don't know about that. That
Yep.
sounds crazy. And I get it. And that's not really a good example. Like, I think it's good to be like, yeah, like that it's good enough kind of approach. It's like, hey, look, we can be ju just as healthy, we can perform just as well, and guess what? Like, we can align with our moral values, or we can try to benefit the world a little bit. If you don't care about the animals, that's one thing. Like, I think most people actually do care about animals more than they think if they, break that cognitive dissonance. But I think most of us, if not all of us, can align with the environmental values,
Hmm.
right? Like, we all live on this planet. So there's multiple reasons why we at least like if everything's good enough health wise, then it still comes up higher because of the moral and ethical values aligned, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like going back to what you said about like documentaries and stuff like that. I mean, I personally don't think that leading with the health argument is an effective strategy. I know there are some people that like go vegan, plant-based for health reasons or whatever, but
Yeah.
you could eat a healthy diet on, I won't say every diet, but most diets,
Hmm.
right? Minus carnivore diet. But like for instance, like a lot of these documentaries use the same playbook as carnivores, where they'll
Yeah,
like
yeah.
find cherry pick this one specific thing, this one specific mechanism in a food, not even mention the dose requirements to see any sort of effect, and then demonize it or whatever. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Yeah.
um, my general rule of thumb is if you ever hear anybody saying that this is the way, like
Yeah.
look the other way. Like if
Hmm.
someone's like speaking with like absolute certainty about something, look the other way.
Yeah.
Like because
Everything's new.
it's
There's nuance to everything.
yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like even if you think of like a vegan diet, it's mostly the same as what everyone else is eating. Like we're not eliminating that much. Like if you think of the carnivore diet, on the other hand, you're eliminating almost like every sort of food on the planet besides like meat, animal products. You know what I mean? Like you're eliminating tens of thousands of plant foods from your
Hmm.
diet.
Yeah.
Whereas like what we're eliminating four or five animals that are
Yeah.
being farmed,
Hmm. Yeah.
and their secretions and whatever, you know. But like
Yeah.
we're still eating whatever the hell we want outside of that.
Yeah.
So
And there's always substitutes for everything too. I mean,
yeah.
and they're getting better and better and better.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree. I've had some really good substitutes recently, and it's definitely looking up. There's if you go by based off of what you see on social media, it seems like things aren't going well,
Hmm.
but social media is not real. It's
Hmm.
not the real world. No one on there is showing their true authentic lives, you know, whether they say so or not. These carnivore people eating off of their wooden trays are not actually living like this. Like if you have nothing valuable to offer to society, you just make stuff up.
So what you're
Like
trying to
that.
say is Liver King was actually natural the whole time, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but yes.
All right, understandable. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just don't really believe what you see on social media.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so let's go back and touch a little bit about powerlifting some more. So I feel like
Yeah.
we covered a lot about, veganism and plant-based diets and how you could perform great. Let's talk a little bit about your powerlifting and training journey some more.
Yeah.
So you just recently did your first powerlifting competition, right?
Yeah. Come on, you know that. You were there.
Just saying for the
Yeah,
people,
yeah. Yeah, we did our first, well, full powerlifting meet because you did
Yeah.
bench only before, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did bench only before, but
So we did our first powerlifting meet together. Yeah.
yeah. And you did great, man. You did really good. You placed first in your class, right?
No, second. Because
Second.
Julian was in my class.
Oh, another plant-based, another vegan athlete right there. What do you
Yeah,
know? The
yeah.
two vegan athletes came in first and second in the same weight class. Um, didn't you place in oh man. Either way, yeah. So let's talk about your your best numbers and such so far. Let's talk about like some future goals maybe.
Yeah.
How'd you place there? Like in terms of like numbers, what'd you pull in the gym maybe or beforehand?
Yeah. No, I did a lot better on the day than I expected I would.
Hmm.
Um, Training was a bit up and down. I kind of like got sick halfway through and it affected the prep a little bit. Um, Leading up to the meet, like my heaviest singles did not feel good at all.
Hmm.
So, going into the meet, it wasn't feeling great, and I was just kind of there to have fun and hang out.
Was
Um,
that fatigue related, you think, in
it
retrospect?
was, I feel like it was. I mean, it was definitely fatigue. There was a lot of fatigue. It was like my first full like actual prep for a competition. So,
And self-coached, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Which I feel like if I not if when I do my next one, I'm working with a coach now, and I'm going
Hmm.
to work with him through that prep.
Hmm.
And hopefully, not hopefully, I'm fairly confident that I'll do much better on the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still getting
Um,
a lot stronger too, dude. But yeah, keep going there.
yeah. I mean, right now, like I'm just taking steps back to make, larger strides forward,
Yeah.
working on technique stuff, tempo work, just really, dialing everything down and all these things that I've never really, focused on that much myself. But
Hmm.
having a coach kind of watch you and give you feedback on what you're doing is obviously extremely helpful. So
Yeah. So, so for training for the meet, you got kind of sick in the middle. You felt fatigued,
hmm
wasn't performing the best that you feel like you
hmm
could have.
yeah,
But meet day still went pretty well.
yeah, it went really well. I kind of had some numbers in mind that I wanted to hit, and um I surpassed squat and deadlift expectations. Bench, I bench has always, kind of been my Achilles heel, and
Yeah.
it's it still is, but um bench was fairly decent, but squat and deadlifts I did much better than I expected. And after my second attempt, I was like, oh, that feels good. I'm gonna go up higher than what I originally intended it on. And yeah, and it went well. It paid off.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think you learned from that experience being self-coached versus why did you decide to get a coach now?
Well, in all honesty, I was just like super broke. So I
Yeah.
was like, I can't get a coach right now.
Uh-huh.
Um, Also at that same time, I was studying for my strength and conditioning certification. So I was kind
Okay.
of using myself as a bit of a test subject,
Hmm.
trying to apply some of what I learned to that.
Hmm.
And obviously, like, I think I'm happy with how it went. I'm proud of myself. You know, put myself through a good program. Um, but yeah, moving forward now, you know, I'm now, I got a better job. I'm training people. So I invested in a coach, and I've only been working with him for a month, but it's already, kind of transformed all my lifts.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
and I don't plan on doing another meet until like, early next year. So I got plenty of time to prepare for it.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about some of your training now versus how it was. So what are some of the
Yeah.
biggest differences there?
Again, he's focusing a lot more on quality rather than quantity. So he has me
Hmm.
doing a lot of tempo work, which I never really did. I barely did any tempo um, work in my prep for the meet.
Hmm.
So, especially on my squat. So he has me doing that. Um, Going really hard on the accessories, doing a lot of accessories, a lot of volume, at least in this first month.
Hmm.
Um, and what else? I'd say like outside of my training before, those are probably the two biggest things is more technique and tempo work and more accessory volume.
So, is most of your work right now, at least in this part of the training cycle, coming from the accessory work? Like, are you focusing more on hypertrophy with those accessory movements?
Yeah. So like each training session will have like basically I'm doing like a squat bench day and then a deadlift day
Hmm.
twice a week. And then yeah, I'll have like 3 to 4 sets of squats and bench, usually in like the, less than 6 rep range.
Hmm.
Top sets, back down sets, and then the rest of the session will be like sets of 10 to 12, hack squats, leg press,
Hmm.
machine presses, all those things, which I didn't really do much of. Like I didn't do a lot of machine work in my prep for the last meet.
Yeah. How are you liking that?
No, I'm loving it. Like I'm definitely noticing the differences. Like I'm even aesthetically, like I'm feeling and looking bigger. I'm feeling the translate into my lifts as
Hmm.
well. So definitely, I guess like a big, yeah, big plus.
Are you what's like your calorie intake looking right now? Are you bulking up? Staying the
No,
same?
but I should. I mean, I I walk a lot. Like with my new job, I'm like constantly on the move,
Uh-huh.
and I'm finding it so hard to like actually even just try to maintain my weight. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
like losing weight without trying.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'm not eating the cleanest right now. I'm just like trying to get as many calories as I can. I'd say I'm probably anywhere upwards of like, close to 4,000. That's what I'm trying to hit every day. But
Damn.
um, I still don't feel like it's enough. I'm not
Uh-huh.
tracking, so it's all like estimates.
Sure, sure.
I'm just trying to eat as much as I can.
Are you keeping an eye on like the scale or anything to see if you're moving up?
Yeah, I'm like kind of stagnant right now, kind of like
Mhm.
fluctuating in like the low 210s.
Okay.
But but I want to obviously get back up because I'm going to do 100 kilos again. So
Okay. Right.
and you know, with the guidance of a coach, I might try to do like a little bit of a weight cut. I don't know,
Uh-huh.
a little nothing drastic, but
Yeah.
the last meet I was a little conservative. Like I weighed in, well under 100 kgs. So
Yeah. Makes
I want
sense.
to try.
I feel like the water cut is a little bit controversial for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying I don't know. I'd rather like if with guidance, I'll give it a shot. If he even recommends it,
Yeah.
he might even just say like, dude, you're still so young at this. Like, just don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I'm all for that too.
how long have you actually been training for powerlifting for? It's been like 4 or 5 years tops, right?
So I started getting into strength training. I wouldn't necessarily say powerlifting. I started getting into strength training probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Just running like 5x5 and 5-3-1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and powerlifting specific, I'd say it's maybe been like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Like,
Wow. So yeah, you're really young in the sport, really.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely I definitely have a lot to learn and I'm excited because like I said, there's a lot of potential there for sure.
Yeah.
And excited to see where I am in a few years. But yeah.
Yeah, man. How was your progress at first? Like, do you feel like you responded pretty well to strength training, or do you feel like it was a slow burn?
Oh, at the beginning, I feel like I responded really well. Like I gained a really pretty significant amount of strength even just within like the first few months. But
Hmm.
like most people, you can overdo it. And I
Yeah.
feel like I definitely had like a full year, if not more, of regression because of just overuse injuries, not
Yeah.
using proper form,
Dude, if you're
screwing up
doing
a
five by
shoulder.
five, I feel like, everyone gets to that point where they're just grinding, grinding,
Yeah,
grinding. And dude,
I know.
in retrospect, it's like, it's kind of like, it can be such a bad program. Like,
Yeah,
it's great to build, strength at the beginning, but holy shit, like there needs to be better fatigue management towards the end that
yeah,
caps you from grinding all of your reps. Like, dude,
yeah.
I would go in and just fucking just bury myself and come out just feeling like a bag of shit.
It's pretty much what I did, and I did that for a while, like way too long.
Yeah, I did too, man. I feel like you kind of get roped into it because it's like it's a simple program. It's really effective at first, And then you just kind of end up, at least for me, I kind of just ended up just playing it out way too long when I really should have
Yeah.
switched over. I should have either like deloaded the weights more often, or I should have just completely switched programs to like something, at least like 5-3-1, like sooner than I did or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
did you ever
Yeah,
run,
but
sorry, keep going.
no, I was gonna say like you just you don't know. You have to like live and learn, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Did you ever run, uh, oh man, I'm like blanket a little bit. It was years ago at this point. Um, oh, Smolov. Did you ever run Smolov?
No, I
Dude,
never
I,
did.
I ran that and I actually I like brought my squat up by like 50 or 60 pounds back then.
Yeah.
Like it's another program that buries you, but I think the increased volume back then was like really beneficial for where I was at the time, maybe. Like
Hmm.
speaking of which, kind of a bit of a side tangent also, but I feel like there's something to like rotating volume and intensity at times. That's something I've been thinking about lately. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
No, I totally agree. And that's one thing that I did neglect for a long time, where I was
Hmm.
just focusing on strength, 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 and just kind of running into a wall. Whereas like I didn't give myself proper time to like actually like, build muscle, like,
Yeah.
a little bit of hypertrophy here or there, build muscle, make it stronger, build muscle, make it stronger, give
Yeah.
your nervous system a break, you know, periodize your training. And definitely time and place for it. Like even like what I'm doing now, like all of my like big compound lifts are for, like I said, like for sets of six or less, but then
Hmm.
everything else, 3, 4 sets of 10 to 12, high rep stuff. And like I said, you need to have a balance of both.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least, the further out you are from a competition. But
Yeah.
you know, and then as you get closer, just highly specific. But
I totally agree. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to change my training a little bit around to do more like I guess back off of the heavy work, higher intensity stuff, um, and switch more to like more volume through accessories. I mean, I guess really mainly like what you're doing, like still keep the compound lifts in because I really want to hit that 500 pound deadlift finally that I'm only
mhm.
20 pounds away, which isn't really that impressive for a lot of people, but for me it's a feat. So I'm kind of taking the same approach right now, but I guess with Muay Thai that I'm doing a lot lately, I'm trying to balance both. So I'm learning a
Yeah,
lot with the whole like hybrid training approach and trying to figure out. Honestly, I think the hardest part is figuring out when is the best time to train and not bury myself with fatigue. It's a
yeah,
whole new thing I'm trying to learn because I used to always just strictly lift, and now that I'm doing something else that I'm really passionate about, it's tricky, man. It's tricky.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know much about like Muay Thai or any sort of like combat sport training. How many days a week are you doing it?
I'm doing too much, but I find like I can really handle quite a bit. I eventually have to deload, obviously, but like I'm doing four, on average, probably have 4 classes a week. Sometimes I'll do three, sometimes I'll do five for Muay Thai. And I'm doing, so they're like an hour long.
Hmm.
Not necessarily every day. I might do two in one day, maybe. And then I'm doing like, honestly, like 4 or 5 training sessions a week
And that's a
of
lot.
resistance training. It's a lot, dude. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah,
people always tell me I'm fucking crazy. And like I get it, but I did cut down on my session time. So for resistance training, it's more like an hour 15 overall. Some sessions I have are like 45 minutes here and there. But like eventually, because I even know that I'm doing a lot, I'm just like obsessed with this kind of stuff. Like I love it, dude. Makes me happy.
yeah,
But eventually the fatigue does catch up and then I take a deload and then get too overzealous and push it too hard again. That's the benefit of a coach. They draw you back, and
that's
it's hard
true.
it's hard to self-coach.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like
You need someone to
even you
tell you
hearing
like,
that. Even you
yeah.
hearing that, you would be like, dude, you gotta chill. Like I know, I
Well,
know.
you need someone to like tell you when to pull back and then also tell you when to push it,
Yeah,
because like I said, like we are like our like it's so hard to coach yourself because we only want the best. And
so hard.
sometimes it's really hard to swallow, like hard pill to swallow. It's like realizing like that less can be more sometimes.
Yeah, it
you
really is.
know
And like another thing is like I've seen your training recently in person. Like you were doing Paul Sumo's at what like you even described as like RPE nothing. But
Yeah.
like it's really important sometimes. So like keeping that really easy work. Like you're still
Hmm.
getting in the work and it feels really easy. It's like RPE nothing, but like that really builds.
Yeah.
Like from my experience when I was being coached last time, it was quite a bit of work like that, like RPE 6 work, and like I ended up hitting all-time PRs at the end. It just got to trust the process, right?
That's really what it is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because again, if you push it too hard, you will start to regress.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing. Like you will get weaker no
Hmm.
matter how hard you push.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, yeah, we should work together on getting a training program for you.
Dude, I know. Like I even write my own training programs and I'll give myself like RP, RIRs, whatever, and I always push it too much. I always give
Yeah.
myself too much volume at the end. I push the intensities too much. I just fucking love training, dude. That's the
Yeah.
problem. And it's why it's so important to have an objective third party, you know.
Yeah. No, for real. Same thing. And I even told like when I was like having a consultation with the coach before, I was like, I've had my fair share of overshooting RPEs.
Yeah, dude.
So and now I record my training, I send it to him. So I even when I'm doing the set, I know he's watching. He might not be there, but I know he's watching. And he'll give me suggested loads the
Dude, the
following week.
powerlifting Jesus, always watching you, man.
Exactly. Yeah. But the great thing is he gives me suggested loads for the next week.
Mhm.
And I see it and I'm like, I don't know about that. But then I actually do it and I'm like, oh, he was like spot on.
Yeah.
you know? So it's good in both directions, as in like I said, when to pull back. I'll be like, oh, that looks a little light. And then I actually do it. I'm like, oh no, he was right.
Yeah.
And then even just this past week, like he had me do like a 3 second tempo, like just a single squat with 405. And
Hmm.
I've never like tempo squatted 405 before. So I was
Hmm.
like a little cautious about it. I was like, oh, are you sure? I don't know. And I did it and it was great. It moved so well. Like it moved better than 405 did a month ago, like without the tempo.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's sick, dude. I love to hear that. Like,
Mhm.
I honestly love seeing my homies thrive, man. So like, I want to see you guys hit some great PRs. I want to see you guys in another meet soon. Like, that'd make me so stoked. I really do want to film that all. I think that'd be so fun to film.
I
Maybe a
know.
little mini
I
documentary.
I really do want to do one at this like early 2025. And once I figure out which one, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, if we can do like a 4 month heads up ish, that'd be so cool. Like I could follow all your guys' training or whatever, whoever commits to it, and then
Yeah,
do like some interview stuff, and then oh man, it'd be so fun, man.
I'm so
Just
down for
say the
that.
word. Just say the word.
Yeah.
I'm there.
All right. I mean, yeah, I'm down for that.
All right, so let's get back on there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So I
Hmm.
think I'd really love to hear about your experience with opening starting Anyway Protein. Um and like how that all went. So, for anyone who doesn't know, do you want to give a quick like description of what you did there?
Yeah. So in 2024, but honestly, we had the idea and we were working on it like a year or 2 years before. In 2024, my wife and I, we started a vegan protein supplement company. We just launched with protein powder, but we had this big idea to have like a full vegan supplement line. And it was both of our first time ever starting a business, so it was a huge learning opportunity. And um yeah, we just bootstrapped the whole thing, just the two of us, and we launched in April of 2024, and we recently closed it a few months ago, just because it was too much. Like were really kind of it was we were really struggling to stay afloat, and
Hmm.
honestly, we both kind of grew away from it anyway, so it wasn't too hard for us to. We had already come to terms with it that it was going to end,
Hmm.
and yeah, but like you were there along the way and a bunch of other people. And essentially we did like a customizable, like make your own flavor protein shake. And we thought that it would be like the next big thing in the protein space because, as we know, most vegan protein powders don't taste the greatest, but um and we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good reception in the beginning. And we were actually doing really well with like our in-person presence. Anytime we did like a in-person event, a taste testing, whatever, we would always do fairly well, but we just really struggle with the online presence, and that's
Yeah.
ultimately what did us in. Um, Online marketing, stuff like that. And yeah, I think that was
Mhm.
like it was obviously a huge learning experience for both of us. We were both, we are not the same people that we were going into it.
Yeah.
We obviously learned a lot. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much the
Yeah.
story about it.
Yeah, there's a lot I would like to unpack there. I think
Yeah, yeah.
first of all, I uh I can relate to this in a lot of ways because I never had like a product launch of any sort, but like, with my creative services, I mean, I've was self-employed for 3 years. I experienced a lot of the same things that you guys experienced and a lot of the difficulties. I think my issue is also like just getting out there and finding like clients in my case, but like customers, really. Um, it's just really, really fucking competitive and hard to launch something. It's like so competitive online and just in general. I feel like the reason that I had success with anything is because like I would have one person, like one connection that would really come through and get me like a ton of work out of nowhere. Or maybe I met somebody else who, kind of it's really just connections, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah.
That's really what really helped me. But like overall, like you're just kind of a slave to the market in a way.
Yep.
Um, and it's just fucking competitive. Like everyone's doing really impressive stuff online, and being online exposes you to the whole world. It's not just like your local city, really. So, is that something that you guys kind of felt also?
Yeah. I mean, definitely obviously a lot of competition, especially in the
Hmm.
supplement space, even the vegan supplement space. Um, the biggest obstacle I think that we had and that I learned from that whole experience was just that you unfortunately have to lie to people on the internet and create a problem that exists and sell
Hmm.
them the solution to it. Um, and we learned that because we worked with a whole like marketing agency slash like education group where they teach you how to make content and market and stuff like that. And the suggestions that they were giving us, like like they're just basically like suggesting to us to just flat out lie to people, like,
Yeah.
oh, this protein will specifically build more muscle than the others, and
Hmm.
oh, like your bloating will never happen again, like, which bloating with protein powder, like, I just cannot stand hearing that shit, like, and these just aren't like real problems that
Yeah.
exist,
Uh-huh.
and we were just trying to keep it simple, like, we were trying to have like protein powder that you make taste what tastes good to you.
Uh-huh.
That's priced competitively to other protein powders on the market. Because that's another thing when we were doing our research on suppliers and ingredients and stuff like that. These companies are, charging a premium for vegan protein powders just
Hmm.
because they know that it's trendy
Niche.
and that it's niche and that, well, the vegans have nowhere else to get their protein, so they're gonna pay more for ours.
Hmm.
Whereas, like, literally just, buying pea protein from a supplier is cheaper than buying whey protein.
Yeah.
All these things, we were doing this research, our minds were blown by this. We're like, we thought it was just more expensive to make vegan protein, where it's like, actually, no, in some cases it's cheaper. Companies are just charging a premium.
Hmm.
So that was our whole thing. We were trying to lead with taste and price, but unfortunately, at that same time is when we kind of missed the wave of the plant-based boom on social media. There
Yeah.
was like a whole,
Yeah.
and then after that became the whole holistic, natural, ultra processed foods are the devil. Like that
Hmm.
whole trend started to take off,
Hmm.
even to the point where we would go to taste things and people would look at our ingredients and be like, "Oh, there's natural flavors in it. I'm not interested." I'm like, dude, when was natural flavors ever a problem?
Yeah.
Like now, like people are getting like super like hyper critical of that. They're like, oh, there's an ingredient I can't pronounce. It must be bad for me.
Yeah.
Like that whole trend started. And even like protein powders like are being categorized as like processed, ultra processed foods. Oh,
Hmm.
like it's not natural.
Yeah.
So, we kind of like got in during that wave,
Hmm.
and literally, like I said, in person, we saw it happen in front of us. Like we saw
Yeah.
people like, the anti-seed oil, the anti this, the anti whatever,
Yeah.
So just wasn't the right time, I don't think, honestly.
Do you feel like going through all that, it kind of pushed you away from even wanting to have that product anymore?
Oh yeah. No,
Makes
it was
sense.
like it wasn't even like had nothing to do with the product itself. Like we just had like a whole like we just started to develop like a disdain to like for the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
That's what I mean.
and just learning about that, I started seeing ads a completely different way. Like
Yeah.
I would see other ads pop up on my thing, and I would just be like, oh, I know what you're doing. Like
Yeah,
I
sure.
know what insecurities you're trying to feed into on people and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
like the fitness industry is notorious for being so blatant about this too. Like we've
yeah,
all seen those ads. I think it was even worse years ago, but there were so many ads that were so bad. They were like, "This will put like 30 pounds of muscle on you in like a month."
yeah,
I feel like that hit a peak like years ago. People kind of see through it more now. They have to be a little sneaky.
yeah,
But I mean, dude, supplement industry notorious, just blatant lies, and it works. It works over and over again because muscle building is a slow process. So, and also everyone wants to get more jacked without side effects. So you
yeah,
just say that they're gonna make these crazy gains in what, like 3 months or less,
yeah,
because everyone wants everything right now. And it'll just sell so many people on it, especially
yeah,
weight loss too. That's a huge
yeah.
one.
I know. Um, exactly. Oh, weight loss, boost your metabolism, this, that, all this
Yeah.
stuff. I'm just like, yeah, like, after that, like I just see right through all of it now. And you know,
Yeah. Like, how many products have I seen, have both of us seen over the years that have just come and gone because there's no substance behind it, but they'll promise
colostrum.
crazy things. I remember like, oh my God, dude, like so many supplements that came up, like specific ingredients, like creatine has stood the test of time. That's a good example of one that actually like was backed by something. But what about all the derivatives of creatine, like creatine, micronized creatine,
Yeah, yeah,
creatine phosphate. I don't know. Like there's like a bunch that were,
yeah.
and
I
then
can't even
there's
tell
like,
you them. Yeah,
dude, there's just like thousands. There was like Garcinia or something for like weight loss, like green tea extract, and like
yeah.
they don't really do anything.
There was that apple cider vinegar trend.
Yeah,
There's
apple
like
cider.
colostrum. We
Yeah,
talked about colostrum. I haven't seen a colostrum ad in a long time. There's a whole
terkesterone.
fit turkesterone. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, it's all just, try to make a quick buck, and that's it.
Yeah, and I get like you and Emma, like your wife, are really moral, like ethical people, and I could imagine like hearing all this about marketing, it probably rubbed you the wrong way, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like like I said, we did these like video testimonials and like taste tests and with real people, by the way, not like, oh, like we paid this person to come up to our desk, our
Yeah,
table and be like, this is the best day ever.
yeah,
We made all these videos and we were expecting people to be like, oh God, like yeah, like a vegan protein that actually tastes good. But it's like, no, because like we weren't telling them anything that they wanted to hear. We
mm,
didn't tell them that it would boost their metabolism and they'll burn fat and they'll, oh, we put green tea extract in here so that you burn that belly fat. Like we didn't do any of that.
yeah,
And ultimately, I feel like that's what, just led to the demise was we weren't trying to solve anything
hmm,
because at the end of the day, like what problems do people really have when it comes to protein? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Except for like, oh, I don't like the way it tastes.
yeah,
Okay, boom, there we go. But also that's a very subjective issue.
hmm.
So yeah.
So it sounds like you guys learned a lot from that experience,
Oh
and
yeah.
that all makes sense to me. Would you ever consider, I don't know, starting something else similar in the future, or
Definitely not like I don't think I'll ever do like a consumer goods like product,
hmm,
especially not food ever
hmm,
again. I do want to get into like starting a coaching business at some point,
yeah,
more of a,
like more service
service
based.
business. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That I believe in because
hmm,
that's actually like offering and providing something of value to people,
yeah, sure.
you know. So, um, definitely a lot I could take away from that experience to help me with that. But but I also don't want to be like a V shred, you know, telling people that I'll, you know, they'll lose all their weight with me in 1 month.
Yeah. You know what's sad? It works. Like
I know
people,
it works. And you know
he's
what's
got
funny? You know how I
what?
knew it was like messed up? That marketing agency, they showed us a bunch of ads that were really good, that in their opinion, and V Shred was one of them.
Oh,
They showed us a
yeah.
V, they used the V Shred ad to be like, this is what you should be doing. And after I saw that, I was like, all right,
It
I
sucks
don't want to
because
work with
that
you guys
guy's definitely
anymore.
so rich.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you can't like offer anything of value, you have to just make something up. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
His whole metabolism quiz and all that stuff. Like, click my link and take the metabolism quiz. And then
Yeah.
and then I've never done it, but I'm sure you take the quiz and there's some results in there that's
It's like you got the beatus.
not.
You got
Yeah,
diabetes.
exactly. Exactly. And you have 3 months to live unless you sign up for my program, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So whatever.
I totally feel you. I mean that would definitely wear on me too. I'm not somebody who could just make a blatant lie claims at all. And
Yeah.
it's really, really hard to find like that novel thing that actually will address a real problem.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, it definitely happens like, often, but it's really hard because everyone is also trying to find that. They're trying to find the
Yeah.
next multi-million dollar thing that solves a big problem.
Yeah.
But because it's so rare, people are making their own problems up. So that definitely makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, man. Well, that all makes sense to me. I think I could definitely keep asking you more stuff, but just for the sake of trying to keep these podcasts a little more succinct overall, we're closing
Hmm.
on about an hour. So
Yeah.
let's wrap up with a little advice maybe. So maybe like what would you give for advice for up and coming vegan lifters maybe who they they want to make it in powerlifting? Like what would you say for that?
Yeah. I
Like
would
let's say like you got
say,
like a newer lifter who like they've been lifting for a little bit, they want to kick their lifts up to the next level. Like, what's the biggest thing you think you could give for advice there?
yeah. Well, first off, I'd say specifically for vegan powerlifters or vegans interested in powerlifting, I'd say first, don't listen to all the noise. For instance, during like probably a 6 month period, I tried to go soy free because of all this bullshit about how soy is gonna tank my testosterone and my hormones. And that was the worst I ever felt as a vegan going soy free. So like,
Mm,
don't listen to all the noise. If you see someone on a podcast claiming that this is bad or whatever, don't listen to them. Because I definitely went down rabbit holes of, stuff like that. Um, so get your nutrition on point, right? Have your protein, eat your soy. Um, and in terms of training, especially for strength and powerlifting, you gotta be patient. It's gonna take time. You
hmm.
gotta, get rid of your ego. You're not up against anybody else. It's just you trying to get better each time. Um, yeah, get your diet together, be patient. Get a coach if you can afford it. Like I said, it's definitely an investment, but it's absolutely worth it.
Hmm.
And just try to meet other powerlifters. I feel like that's what really did it for me was it was this idea and it was this I guess dream that I had, but it just seemed so distant and so far away um that I personally was like, I'm not ready, I'm not strong enough, I'm not this. And then I went to my first powerlifting meet and everyone was so nice. Everyone was super welcoming.
Dude, it was so fun.
Everyone's there to have a good time. And after that, I was like, oh shoot, yeah, I want to sign up for one now.
Yeah.
Like literally a year after that, I signed up for my first one. And luckily I did it with friends. So I'm saying
Mhm.
meet people that do it,
Yeah.
right? Like I met you guys said you wanted to do it, and I just jumped on the bandwagon and we all just did it. We crushed it. We had a great time, and I just can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, man. I want to add on to that too. Like, dude, it was really fun. And I'm not I'm not like very serious about powerlifting. Like I like to just hit new PRs, but the environment there was so fun and so welcoming. And it's not as intimidating as you might think for like a local meet.
Nope.
Like, I mean people are strong, but like they're not. I think you're gonna if you're decently strong, you're gonna do fine. Like,
Yeah,
don't worry what anyone else thinks anyways. Like everyone's very supportive. There could be some lifters who are very new and everyone's very supportive there. They're just happy to see people hit PRs. Like it's a really good community. So I agree with Billy. Like I'm not somebody who powerlifts very seriously and I had a great time and I would do it again just for the
yeah,
sake of the energy.
yeah. No, totally. Yeah, if it's something you want to do, just go for it. Just do it. Like I said, you have nothing to prove to anybody. Just, do it for yourself and have a good time.
Love that advice, man. Are you offering any coaching online or anything yet? Are you thinking about it?
I'm thinking about it. I'll
Okay.
definitely keep it. Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop, and we'll talk about it. But probably starting early next year. I
Okay.
just started coaching myself. I'm working at a gym that's going well. I'm riding that out to the end of the year, and then I'm
Awesome.
gonna start accepting clients outside of that.
That's awesome, man. I'll definitely share that if you ever want to make that public.
Yeah, yeah.
And any place else you want to put out there for people to find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me at Soy Boy Billy on Instagram. That's pretty much it. I'm not really on anything else, and I'm not that active on Instagram, but I plan on getting back on it soon. So give me a
Awesome.
follow, and yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
All right, sick dude. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And stay on for a little bit after we close up here. I'll just, give you a proper thank you and everything. But
Yeah, yeah.
thanks everyone for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks, Billy, again.
All right.
Talk to you
Thank
later.
you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ethics Approach podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate if you gave the podcast a follow anywhere where you're listening to this and dropping a review if you liked it. Please also feel free to check out the Ethics Approach website for additional content, including coaching services, free training programs, articles, and merch, as well as the Ethics Fitness YouTube. Feel free to also check out my personal fitness Instagram, which can be found at Tofu Strong, for updates and even more content. And of course, dropping a like, commenting, and sharing is always hugely appreciated and is a quick, easy, and free way to help me keep producing more content like this. Thank you so much again to my Ethics Fitness community. Much love, as always, and I'll see you again in the next episode soon. Peace out.